as you were learning as in 2018, so to speak. But yeah, but let's get into this. Let's wrap it up so that I can let you guys go. I feel like the aircon section never came on. Or did someone adjust things? What is it? You guys just need to drop it a little more. Okay, but yeah, let's wrap this up. So what's happening with question three? Question three, let's look at the required when it came to question three. Question three says, prepare the plant world account in the trade payables ledger of Jasmine Traders, showing all the transactions for March and April. Then it also goes on to say, prepare a trade payable reconciliation statement as at 31 March, so reconciliation statement as at 31 March and 30 April. Then finally it says, should Plant World agree to deduct 500 from the invoice, how will this reflect? Will this be reflected by Plant World? Okay. All right. Okay. So then they give us, what else do they give us here? They give us Jasmine World is a home and nursery center located in Johannesburg. Okay. They're then going to say Jasmine Traders is having trouble working out how much they owe Plant World. So Plant World is obviously their creditor. Okay. One of their suppliers as at the end of April. You have been provided with the following information. Okay. Information summarized by the journals relating to Plant World. Okay. So we have payments made by EFT. We've got the 3,800 credit purchases. We've got the purchases returns of 500. That's all happening in March. Okay, then April, we've got the 12,840, 11,339, and we've got the 910. Okay. I don't know how I didn't notice that earlier. Then you go on to the next page, page 6, and you have the debtor statement, and you've got the for April and March. Okay, dated on 25 March and 25 April. Then we go on to additional information. Okay, so obviously with that information you can begin to draw, but I would actually advise first going through the additional information and making notes, because there might be some pertinent information within the additional information, such as maybe there was some errors made or whatever else. Okay, so number one, it says the balance on Plant World's account in the trade payables subsidiary ledger of Jasmine Traders on 1 March was 3,690. The difference between the statement balance and the trade payables subsidiary ledger balance was as a result of an EFT payment made on 28 February. That was not reflected by Plant World. Okay, so basically what they're saying there is the balance that we have of 3,690 is the correct one. Okay, the reason why in the statement, which was produced by Plant World, if you look at the, what is this, the March statement, you'll see on 1 March they say 4,540. The reason why they have that is because they have not gotten the payment that was paid to them in March. Okay, so that's fine. So we then obviously open our books by using the 3,600 and which you see, okay, for March that is at least. Okay, then we go on. We now know, okay, cool. We made credit purchases, okay, according to that summary, right? That summary of information. And then we know that would then obviously yield an invoice. That would obviously then mean it's coming from the creditors journal, 13,340. Then we obviously change our balance. Then we know we also made a payment, okay? None of, you see, we didn't get any dates. So even if you didn't have this in the exact same order, it's perfectly fine. So EFTs, we're making payments. So that's obviously CPJ and then 3,850. Okay, that's going to affect the end balance. Then here, purchases returns. Okay, purchases returns. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm removing the debit note. Okay, but it should be credit note. Okay, because remember, a credit note. What is a credit note? I'm saying I'm returning goods, or I'm asking somebody to give me a rebate because maybe I'm asking for a discount. Sorry. What else? I was overcharged. Okay, so that's a credit note. Debit note is actually the opposite of that. Okay, so that's why I say this is supposed to be a credit note. Okay, if you guys put debit note, okay, I will not be happy. I will not be happy. Okay, right. So that was the summary information. Let's go on. It says invoice 1,000. So we could actually do that also for April. But did they give us the balance here for April? The balance put forward. Oh, sorry. We were supposed to use March's balance. Can you see that? What I've highlighted there? That's March's end balance. So obviously March's end balance will be April's opening balance. Okay. So we've got our opening balance there. Then we say, okay, what were the summary of transactions that took place? You've got the purchase or credit purchases, 11,309. Then we've got the 12,840 payments. All right. And then we obviously have the purchases returns, which again, I wouldn't want to see debit note here. Should be seeing only credit note. And therefore that gives us the balance that we have then there of that there. Okay. Let's continue now with the additional information. It says invoice 1009 reflects the April statement, reflected on the April statement, had not yet been received by Jasmine. Okay. So this is basically letting us know. Remember our job here, we need to do the trade payables. But we've just started with doing the creditors list. Okay, or creditors ledger, should I say. Okay. So that if we have not, if it has not reflected by Jasmine traders, that means that we are going to remove that amount, or we shouldn't have that amount on our side yet because we haven't received the invoice. Okay, so you can just make a note on the side. Then the next one, it says Jasmine traders sent a debit note to Plant World in March for 500, representing the difference between the price they had verbally agreed on items purchased and the price that appeared on the invoice. They still have not negotiated a compromise. Okay, so a debit note, again, is the opposite of a credit note. Okay, and yeah, I think they meant to write credit because what you're saying here is the customer is basically letting the creditor know that, hey, I underpaid you, undercharged me, so please increase what you've charged me by 500. You get what I'm saying? So And I see the way they also answered, it was as if they were talking about a credit. So I think that was a mistake on my side. Those are just my thoughts. But we'll have a look at it now. Okay, I'm just explaining this thing for now. Okay, so the next bullet point, it says a credit note for goods returned in April for 910 on the April statement as a credit note for goods returned in April for 910 appears on the April statement as 190. Okay, so obviously this is a mistake. It needs to be rectified on the April statement. Okay, so we'll take note of this for the reconciliation purposes. Because again, like the bank recon, creditors, the trade payables, we're sending it to the creditor and saying, you need to make these amendments on your side. Any amendments we need to make, we are going to do it where? In our trade payables, okay? Or in our creditors ledger. Right. So there you would work out the difference, 910 minus 190, you get 720. Okay, but I think we'll see that along the way. Just making mention now. Okay. Just double check. Am I recording? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Okay. Next one, invoice 1005, sorry, on the April statement for Jazz traders, not for Jasmine traders. Okay. So that's basically letting us know, again, our creditors have made a mistake. Because remember, this is a statement they've sent us. So if we look at April, they say that we bought goods for 3,784 with invoice 1005. Does that make sense? But that's not for us. That's for Jazz traders, not for Jasmine traders. Does that make sense? So they need to remove that as well from their books. Or should I say, we'll record it in the trade payables reconciliation statement. They must rectify on their side. Then an invoice of 658 shown on the April statement, okay, was for flowers ordered by the owner, Mr. Willows, for his wedding anniversary. The bookkeeper has not recorded this transaction at all, as the owner had ordered the goods in his name and not the business. Okay, so basically they're letting us know that this 680 invoice 1007 should not be on this statement. Okay, so that's 5658. Again, they must rectify, they must remove it from the statement. Okay, so now we know the nature of the things that have gone on. It's now just about recording. We already spoke to, let me just zoom out just a little bit. We already spoke to the trade payables ledger, or the creditors ledger as we know it, for April and for March. This one was for March, and I believe, yes, this was for April. Okay. Now we can go to the trade payables. In other words, the creditors control. Okay. And then there you're basically doing the same thing that you've done, but then obviously, should I zoom out so you just make one picture of it all? Let's do that. Okay, sorry, just give me a second. There you go. Okay, so you're just taking all the information that we had earlier, and now you're debiting where you should debit and crediting where you should credit. Remember, with this, on the credit side, it's increasing. Okay, your creditors control or your trade payables is increasing, and on the debit side, it's decreasing. Can you see purchases returns? Can you see bank CPJ? We're paying. Does that make sense? So if you understand those principles, then this shouldn't have been a problem for you either. Okay. The only thing that may have tripped you up was maybe the language, but otherwise, if you understood what was going on, you should. Yes. That's it. This is the creditor's ledger. This is the creditor's control. Let me actually write it so you can see it. Slash creditors control. Okay. Yeah. So actually, I lie. This is not the creditor's ledger. This is the creditor's account specifically for Plant World. Because remember, Plant World is the supply. They're the ones that we. Jasmine World is us, the business. Does that make sense? And why I said I lie and why I'm correcting myself here is because remember, the creditors control is a summary of all your creditors. Right now, we're dealing with only one of our creditors, that being Plant World. Does that make sense? Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, no, that was one of the issues that we. So in the test, it will be much, much better. I believe that the guys will be more prudent in terms of what they're pushing there. Yeah, here I think it was quite clear. Even from my perspective, my assumption was they wanted to have it. So yeah, but you did. I'm sure you saw that it was marked, right? Because I look. Can I say to be continued? My response to that, because I know here I'm recording. Whoever's watching this video later is probably laughing right now. But yes. So I'll speak more to that, but I do believe that in your exam it'll be more clear, for sure. Okay. And but also don't worry too much about that because if we come to the conclusion that something was unfair or we have not tested you fairly according to what we taught you via the textbook, we will then obviously allocate marks. So that's why you did not suffer as a result of what you actually ended up putting together. Yeah. Cool. So this is the spoken to this is just March and then April. Okay. And then now here is where the reconciliation was now happening. So obviously now we know what they have in their books. We know what we have in our books. Okay. And then we're saying, okay, what is the difference between the two? Okay, one is for March and one is for April. Okay. Then the third question there that they had, I didn't read this one, did I? It says, should Plant World agree? Oh, I did actually. Should Plant World agree to deduct 500 from the invoice? How will this be reflected by Plant World? And here they're saying the 500 will appear as a result of a credit on May statement. Yes, credit on May statement from Plant World. So here they were really testing. Do you understand? The statements that they were given, can you see that it was from the perspective of Plant World? And Plant World is looking at us as debtors, people that owe them. Does that make sense? We're looking at Plant World as Jasmine. We're looking at Plant World as people we owe. Sorry, a company we owe, not people. A company we owe. Okay. So when you're looking at the statements, even if you look here, it says what? Debtor statement, because we're their debtor. When we're writing, what are we writing? We're writing trade payables or creditors. Plant World. Can you see that? Creditors ledger. Okay, because these are people we owe. So that's when we were testing you guys to understand. Okay, if they are reducing an amount and they are Plant World and they're looking at us as debtors, how do we reduce our debtors? It would be a credit entry because we know debtors are an asset and assets increase on the debit. So if the debtors is reducing, then it would be a credit. Does that make sense? So they were just really testing how well do you know your story. But that, ladies and gentlemen, was your assignment. Was your assignment. So I don't know if you guys have any questions. third bullet point. That is a very yeah. That's a very relevant for that. So that was for March. Let's see. March, yes, 500 rand. So it's, can you see it's this amount here? So you see why they said it was not agreed yet. It's because they wanted you to record it. Yeah. But again, that language is quite tricky because it can also be uh, don't record anything because they haven't agreed. Yeah. I would have also probably assumed that as well. So I think that wording wasn't so great, so to speak. And I think here, if you look, I think in March, this is March, right? Yes, this is March. This is April. What did they say for this one? Record for March and April. Yeah, I think this is, and that 910, the 910 is also, this is actually supposed to be April. Yeah, this is supposed to be April, not March. Okay, okay, just so you're aware. All right. Again, oh, let me do this for you rather. Okay, there you go. All right. So yeah. So that 500, you can see they even listed it as amount disputed. Can you see that? So they've recorded it, but at the same time they're saying they haven't yet agreed. So yes, we recorded in both. At least there's consistency in that regard. That's a good thing. Let's see now. Because remember, we're doing the reconciliation, eh? Oh, okay. Sorry, actually, sorry. This wasn't us recording it. It was actually us looking at the difference between the two, saying where's the difference, the shortfall. You get what I mean? Less amount disputed. Okay. And here we also say, are we saying less amount disputed? Okay, well, we have several amounts that are causing the difference over here. So, so I think, yeah, that less amount disputed is in relation to uh, that, that 500. Because there's no other transaction in relation to the 500 other than that. Mm. So it's quite clear that's what's making the difference because they haven't yet agreed. So, sorry, you may have already been answered, but it's also, I'm also learning. So for March, they're basically saying that 500 is what caused there to be a difference in terms of amounts. Um, can we say that? On the, because Plant World basically then hasn't recorded it on their side, but we have accepted it and recorded it. That's basically what's happening here. But yeah, here we have several other things which not yet received, and we spoke about these things, so you would know whether to add or remove and which one it would affect, who has recorded it, who hasn't recorded it, and so forth. But yeah, guys, I think let's call it over there unless there are any further questions. We'll upload this. I'll upload it today. Upload it today. I don't think I have much other to. Bayanda, thank you for joining us there online. And let's see, who is your other colleague who joined us? Hilton as well. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. I will see you guys sometime next week. Do take care.